All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday with my man Rio, talking some hoops. 5 games on the slate, all locked within an hour, which you love to see. 7 Eastern, 7:30, and then 3 games at 8 Eastern. Happy Dallas Mavericks chalk day. They are shorthanded. A couple big injury news there. PJ Washington, Najee Marshall. They did miss Klay Thompson as well, but yeah, they missed. It was yesterday already, man. Yeah, the back-to-back. So we had some late news in that. Nemhard, that's who I played. He got lucky to even get to where he got. Middleton was pretty chalky. Now we get the news pre-flop, and Dallas will be mega chalk, as you can see right here, just sorting by ownership. Let me sort there. There you go. But yeah, I'm excited to talk through it with you. We got Michael in here. Jose wins a lot, pair by. Hope everybody doing well. Again, MLB show will be coming up right after this at 5 Eastern. I'm double dipping today, myself and G Rising. And talking some baseball, Rio obviously talked about it yesterday, won the 100K on opening day, and now he is going to the Dodgers game in attendance. So I'll throw it to you. Are you going to be in the MLB streets stacking the Dodgers tonight?
Yeah, I haven't taken a look at the slate yet, but I'll definitely be playing, probably taking the night off for NBA, but still be adjusting everything if we get news. I'm going to be bringing my laptop on the road with me, so I'll have to do the old connect to my phone while I'm sitting on the 110, driving out to LA. It'd be about an hour and a half to get to the game because it's just traffic is insane in LA. But yeah, excited for the game. Be my first time seeing Shohei pitch live, and I think it's a Yamamoto bobblehead night. I'm not really a big Dodgers fan, but like growing up in LA, all your friends are, and I watched a ton of the playoffs last year, so I'll probably. If I get one, I'll probably gift it to somebody that's an actual Dodgers fan because I definitely won't want it. But yeah, excited for it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to go see some baseball live. It's always a lot better to see it in person than it is on TV, I think.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It's actually Maddie's favorite sport to go to live. UFC's up there, but basically you can we always go way up in the top. We find a section where, especially at Miller Park, American Family, whatever, where not too many people are around. And yeah, you can just be chilling outside, nice weather. And yeah, if you want to watch baseball, you can. Otherwise, there's a million other people watching and stuff going on. So I got to get out to a game myself pretty soon. Corbin Carroll, that's right in the backyard now. Man, what a good game he had yesterday. But yeah, we will talk MLB in 57 minutes with G Rising himself. We are talking hoops today. Yeah, I mean, any broad slate you want to say? It feels like Happy Mavs Day, and then figure out the pieces around it.
Yeah, I feel like this slate's a little bit better in terms of the game environments, not being as many blowouts. I have some strong game takes and like team takes. A couple spots that I actually did bet on because I want to get a little bit of action down, but I do feel fairly strongly about some of these games. Yeah, I don't know. I think that the ownership is probably correct on the Dallas stuff. You're gonna have to play them. Good matchup against a bad Milwaukee team. They'll be shorthanded. So yeah, I think it's overall a decent slate. It's kind of unique in the sense that there's not a lot of great spend up options. I feel like this could be a more of a mid-tier type of slate. The most expensive player is Cooper Flag at 9.7K, and then a plethora of 9K options that you can kind of poke holes in all of their matchups and overall upside.
Yeah, like you said, we have a lot of value on the slate, but just sorting my salary right here. Flag 9.7, 9.5 Paulo, 9.4 Booker. I mean, you can't really spend. At least there's no one above 10K. Obviously, these guys by default are going to get some ownership because, yeah, you obviously spend all your money in the NBA streets or pretty close to it. Actually, I want to touch on the spreads like you said. 1.5, 1.5, 3.5, 1.5, and then one big one with the Hornets 17.5 point favorites over the Nets. So for the 5 games expected to be close, you love to see that. What's up, Rodney? Great to see you. Eduardo, there you go. Going to be in Anaheim. Rio and I were in Anaheim. We saw the park from a distance, talking some UFC. That was fun, except the main event when Ilya put Volk down. But hey, that's how she goes. I got nothing really more to add. I say we get right into the first game of the night. We have a 7 p.m. Eastern Phoenix Suns and the Orlando Magic. 1.5-point favorites are the Magic. Going to the injury report in this one. On the Phoenix side, really no new injuries at all to talk about. On the Orlando side, the same can be said. So two teams that nothing new on that side. You already talked about needing some spend ups, just sorting by ownership in this game. Paulo, Bane, Suggs getting a little bit as well. Not too much on the Phoenix side, but yeah, in terms of value, kind of tough to go to this game. I mean, like value wise, like Kane's showing the best point per dollar at 3.3K. Compare him to the Mav stuff. He is a lot worse, but Tristan Da Silva, we've been playing a little bit. Maybe some Iguodala action at center. Curious how you're taking this one. Looks like mainly mid-tier spend-ups, though.
I would say that the main thing that stood out was the Suns getting healthier because they were without Grayson Allen last night, and this will be Dylan Brooks' first game back since the hand fracture. That's the kind of thing that I think is the most interesting to talk through because we've saw earlier this season how massive of a role and usage role that Dylan Brooks has had, and there's not a ton of data with him and Jalen Green sharing the court together. And I was just looking at like the on-off stuff for Brooks. Like essentially everybody on the entire roster sees a dip in usage, sees a dip in their points, and a couple people see like, upgraded rebounding rates, which I don't think is really indicative of like what Dylan Brooks does there, but it really like everybody sees a decreased role while Dylan Brooks is playing, minus Devin Booker a little bit. Like his numbers are down slightly, but I mean Jalen Green sees a pretty big dip in his usage and his points. So just kind of curious to see what happens there. I do think that this is a pretty good matchup for the Suns, just with the way that Orlando defends. There are a team that I always prefer to pick on with guards because they don't send any help off on Jalen Suggs and like Anthony Black when he's available. Their pick and roll numbers are pretty down, so I think that does put guys like Devin Booker and Jalen Green into pretty good spots here. But I'm just going to kind of take a wait and see approach with Jalen Green because the price is up there now at 7.7K. And again, Dylan Brooks back. Just want to see what shakes out between those two guys because they've kind of like as Dylan Brooks got injured, it was Jalen Green that kind of stepped into that same role. So how does the usage shake out between those two guys is the one thing I'm curious to see. But I think Booker's fine at 9.4K. This slate reminds me of a slate I think that we talked about last week or maybe the week prior where it was a smaller slate and pretty much every game was close, but there was one bigger spread. And I feel like value was being dominated by one team on that slate, and then there was kind of three games that you could have chose spend ups to kind of correlate in. So I don't think that this game is the most appealing, but you do have upside options in Devin Booker on the Sun side, to a lesser degree Jalen Green. I even think like Dylan Brooks is a guy you could play because I would expect him to go back to full minutes. It was a hand fracture, it wasn't really like a hamstring or like a knee injury that you need to ramp up. Like he'll be ready to play right away since he got cleared. So from that sense, I think this game does have some correlated pieces you can get to, but I would say that these are probably the the spend ups in this game probably have the lowest upside versus the other ones that we'll be talking about. I think all these Orlando guys are fine because they didn't play a ton after getting waxed by the Raptors over the weekend. Just not a great team. I don't think they're going to do much in the playoffs. So I'm kind of off of them, kind of off Toronto as well in the East. But tonight they should be in an okay spot. The Suns have been giving up more points around the basket, so that should put Paulo in a decent spot. But he will see Dylan Brooks on defense. He's done okay against him. I think he's averaging 24.6 points per 75 over the last two seasons, but on just 54% true shooting. So not great numbers there. I think Desmond Bane is probably the guy I have the most interest in here at 7.4K. Regardless of who he sees, I know it won't be Dylan Brooks because that'll be Bane. If it's Jalen Green, that'll be a huge spot for him. He averaged on limited sample 53.8 points per 75. If it's Devin Booker on him, I think that's a great spot to attack as well. So I think Bane is in a good spot. I think Suggs is okay. I prefer the matchup on Bane and even Paulo for more expensive. And then Wendell Carter Jr., he kind of has to compete with a lot of decent value at the center position, some that are cheaper, some that are a little bit more expensive. I prefer the other guys, but he definitely should be making a player pool because it is a good matchup. And then Da Silva, he's shown pretty good minutes upside. Definitely has a tournament viable score within the range of outcomes for him.
Yeah, Da Silva was the one that stood out most. We talked about it, I don't know, last week sometime about like they're still only projecting right under 30 minutes. But I mean, yeah, like the last game it blew out, like you mentioned. Other than that, he's been playing Here, let me get the exact numbers. I mean, 32, 35, 34, the 3 games prior to that. I mean, obviously, he's not the biggest usage guy playing alongside these guys, but he can fill it up in multiple different ways. And the big thing, he's 10% owned, is what it's looking like. So many people are going to go to the Dallas spot. So I think he's an interesting mid-tier pivot. You can play him with Dallas. You're going to play chalk Dallas when it's all said and done. But a way to get different a little bit is, I think, playing Tristan da Silva. After that, I'll ride with you on Bane. You said he's your favorite. No argument there. I kind of have the same thoughts with you as Bane, or just he rarely works out for me nowadays.
Yeah.
Someone I want on my team when it's also like in real life. He can stroke it. He plays defense. It was definitely fun for Memphis. I rostered him more, but there's a lot of hands in the cookie jar here. But yeah, I mean, ownership is going to be relatively in check on a lot of these guys. So Da Silva's my favorite though at cost. What's up, Michael? Good to see you. Yeah, we'll touch on that though. I'm hoping not. I did see there's some potential for rain. Have you looked at that at all, Rio?
I haven't. I'm pretty far from the stadium, so it is a little bit gloomy here, but I don't think I'm not going to get rain over here, but maybe over there is kind of
Just
different.
Yeah, just look. Maybe you need to get your poncho out or something. You don't want to be soaked and not prepared, but hopefully the
A
game plays.
little rain never hurt nobody.
Yeah, there you go. That's true. Do you believe that there are some priorities in the Magic Sun game? We just talked about it. I mean, no, if you have nobody in this game when it's all said and done, I think that's totally fine. You said the Sun side, now that they're getting Brooks back, Grayson, I would not really mess over there. Dylan or Devin Booker, another one that it feels pretty tough for me to get to on most slates now, that especially that they're fully healthy. So some Magic or bust to start it off. Let's take us to the biggest spread on the slate. The Hornets 17.5-point favorites over the Nets, 219.5 total in this one. I will say the totals are low throughout. 219.5, 217.5, 219.5, 224.5, 230.5. Again, that doesn't just over-unders don't just mean like equate to DFS whether you play the game or not, but low total, big spread, injuries in this one on the net side. No Terrence Mann, otherwise no new injuries there. And then on the Charlotte side, they're completely healthy like they have been for quite some time. Sorting by ownership, LaMelo, 8.5K, looks like a pretty good spend when you're just forced to spend some money. I think Brandon Miller is always mine that I choose nowadays, 7.6K. Granted, LaMelo has been a lot better as of late. The question for me is, I mean, like the rotations. If it's a 15-point game going into the fourth quarter or 20-point game going in the fourth quarter, what are they going to do with these guys' minutes? And the Nets, I mean, you always talk, or you have recently just hit that little circle with a dash through it. I think that's probably what we're doing today, unless you got a hot take.
No hot takes for the Nets. I think we have like 13 guys projected to see minutes for them. I mean, at the bare minimum, they're going to be playing 11 guys tonight, and you look at the value scores, like nobody really close to that, like 5x value is kind of that's not really a threshold. Like you're going to get good scores from guys at like the low 4.2, like 4.5 value score. So I think it's like Traore you're keeping in there, Clowney, I guess, but he's on a minutes restriction. Uh, yeah, I don't know. It's max one for Brooklyn for me. Don't really have any strong takes there. And the Hornets side is definitely worth talking through. And I guess I kind of have a hot take on their side because I think Diabate is extremely underowned here. Just a really strong matchup for him with the way that the Nets have been giving up a bunch of rim scoring and they're bottom 3 in rebounding this season. Diabate is a great rebounder, and we've seen a couple of these games where, I mean, like Memphis is kind of similar matchup wise, put up 39 against them, 14 rebounds, had the double double. Sacramento, another team that he could put up points and rebounds against, had a double double there. And I think that there's been a couple times this season where they'll be playing these weaker teams and it's a pretty big blowout, but they have him playing full minutes. And I don't know if that's just because he's doing well or they just want to get him more playing time, but I think that this could be a spot where he does really well in 5.8K. Plenty of room for upside for him. So I like him a lot. Probably my favorite center, like lower owned center in that 5K range because there's like 5 to 6 in that like 6 to 5K range for centers that are getting a good amount of ownership. And I kind of like him the most. Between LaMelo, Miller, Khan, and Bridges, don't really have a strong take between any of these guys. For LaMelo, he does beat up on these weaker opponents, but schematically, it's a pretty bad matchup as we've kind of talked about all year long against Brooklyn. They don't give up any pick and roll scoring. He's still going to get the usage, still going to get up a ton of shots, and he can hit for a big way if the shots are falling. I think that Washington game is kind of one that we can always refer back to where he put up like, what was it, 60 something fantasy points, and yeah, 64 in 27 minutes, like something like that is within his range of outcomes. It's just hard to predict when that's going to happen. Brandon Miller, I think he might be a little bit too expensive now just for the upside we've seen. I guess that the Kobe White addition has really hurt these guys' upside. Haven't really seen it from him since like Portland or Miami, where he really put up a score that you had to have. Shooting the ball a lot better right now, but just a little concerned about the upside for him. I think for Khan, this could be one of those statement type games, like the Rookie of the Year race heating up a lot. And even though he's favored, I think that there's a lot of narrative around Cooper Flag being the guy that should be getting it. He has shown pretty good peripheral upside, double doubles in 2 of his last 3 games. Nets don't really give up a ton of threes, but he can do a little bit of everything, so I'm fine with him. I don't think I'm on Bridges, hasn't put up anything in his last 6 games, losing minutes to Grant Williams as well. And then Kobe White, he's going to need to be hyper efficient in limited minutes because he's not playing more than usual. But we did see that he can do that. He had that huge stretch like about a week or 2 ago where he was putting up 30 plus fantasy points in limited minutes with ease. So I think all these guys are in play. It would probably be a max 2 of Ball, Miller, Khan, and Kobe. And then obviously max 1 Kalkbrenner and Diabate if you're considering Kalkbrenner. I'll be max 1 of Grant Williams and Miles Bridges, but probably I think 3 is probably plenty on the Charlotte side. I wouldn't be getting more than that.
For Kalkbrenner, if this game does blow out, is he going to get that last run? Are those 19 minutes potential to get to like mid-20s?
I don't think so. I think they'll still have Diabate playing his normal rotation, and then he'll get like the last 5 to 6 minutes.
All right. I mean, I do think taking a shot at Kobe White, you meant like 5.2K. I mean, it's kind of getting up there a little bit. You did mention, though, his rotation last week where it is kind of like blow-up proof, which is nice. And, yeah, I mean, he has to be efficient shooting, but he definitely has been as of late. And just looking at that ownership, a lot of people – guard is really loaded on this slate. You can also say that about LaMelo as well when we get to like Brandon Williams and Nembhard. I guess those are the main 2 that are getting a good amount of ownership. But, like, if you're not – would you be fine playing LaMelo and Kobe White? I think LaMelo is going to be, we're showing, pretty popular. Would you be fine playing both of them?
Yeah, I would. I think it'd probably be max 2 of what I said.
4.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, more looking into like the Brandon Miller stuff. He has not got there. Khan shot the ball really poorly as of late. He's still playing a bunch of minutes though. So if he does get hot, that is a good price tag right there. Just shooting guard eligible. I don't mind it, but it feels like if someone is to break it for Charlotte, I like your Diabate call, a low ownership, and then LaMelo. I mean, he's getting the ownership. LaMelo and Kobe White would be my 2 favorites, but I'm gonna ride you with Diabate. 3% ownership in a range like I did sort. If you right click here if you're a Saberson member and you don't know, if you right click on position, you're able to sort by any of them. So I sorted by center, then I sort by salary. You can see in this range, Gafford's going to be mega chalk for sure. Oso showing more ownership. Wendell Carter showing more ownership. Miles Turner, Jakob Poeltl, Jabari Smith, then obviously Durant's and a whole different price tag. But Diabate's sandwich between a lot of these guys that are getting more ownership. So I like that call for sure. I got nothing really more to add in that game. Let me unclick there. Let me go to Toronto and the Detroit Pistons. 3.5 point favorites are the Pistons. 219.5 total in this one. On the Toronto side, no Emmanuel Quickly, and then Colin Murray Boyles and Brandon Ingram, both questionable. On the Detroit side, Karis LeVert and Sasser are both questionable. You're not really going to have too much in this first game. I don't think you're going to have too much in this second game. Obviously, a couple pieces here and there. The Dallas game is the one that you're going to want a lot of those. So even if we don't get Ingram news prior to these games, you're going to have spots to mess around and adjust. Do you have any lean on the Brandon Ingram stuff? And then, because like if he is ruled out, I think this is where the RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, I'm not quite sure about Shed. Probably not as much, but I mean, you can't spend on this slate. So Scotty and Barrett would get big bumps right there. And then thoughts on Jakob Poeltl. I mean, it sounds like you probably prefer Diabate at ownership. I think Poeltl might even be higher owned than this 13%.
Don't really have a lean on Ingram. He's been playing the last couple games, and I wouldn't think that this be a game that he'd want to miss. Just in terms of it being like a competitive game, I feel like the spread probably indicates that he plays. Don't necessarily think that he's worthy of like 1 to 2 points on the spread, but definitely something to consider. I think that he probably does play tonight. don't really know about the CMB stuff. And then I agree with you. I think Porto will be a little bit higher owned, just kind of. I mean, I don't think I guess I'll get there when I get there, but yeah, I do think that he will be higher owned. Detroit came off a pretty respectable loss last night, I believe, to OKC. Um, yeah, I think they were without Tobias Harris and uh, Jalen Duren in that one, and still kept it pretty close up until the end. So that was good to see. I really just think that Detroit has more ways to win here, and they're better at the things, or better at limiting the things that Toronto is good at. So I do think that this is kind of the spot to get on the Detroit side at a pretty close spread. I've talked about it basically every time Toronto's been faced off against a actual like contending team. Like they can't compete with these teams. So I just don't really believe in them. They've been playing great lately, but the strength of opponent has been pretty weak. Orlando, New Orleans, Clippers are good, but Utah, like they played some really weak teams lately, so I'm just not a believer in them. Defensively, how these teams match up, the Pistons are top four in defense over the last 2 weeks. Raptors are ninth, so still playing good ball, but like I mentioned, the strength of opponent has been pretty weak. The Raptors are also 11th on offense. Pistons are 15th, but the Pistons still have some of the best elite rim protectors in the game. They do give us some 3-point volume, but Toronto is a below average 3-point volume offense, so it's going to be difficult for them to put up points when they want to get to the basket. The Raptors are bottom 8 in rim defense. Detroit is top 6 in rim offense, so they have the edge there. And then Toronto's also giving up more on-ball volume. They're bottom 5 in pick and roll defense this season. For Scotty Barnes, going to be a really tough spot for him to generate rim scoring. He's been getting a lot more involved on ball as of late, double-digit assists in each of his last 4 games against those weak opponents. Going to be Tobias Harris on Barnes, I believe. He's done a pretty decent job at limiting scoring against him. Barnes averaging just 18.7 points per 75 on 59% true shooting, so not a good spot for him here. I'm off of him at he's going to be pretty high owned as well. I just don't think this is a good spot for him. I think Ingram and Barrett probably set up a little bit better, but question marks around their overall upside in this type of spot. You do need more off-ball scoring, so those guys kind of match up well. Not a good matchup for Pirtle versus Duren. It's going to bring a little bit of foul risk. Duren's been doing a good job getting to the line. We've seen a lot of times in the past, Pirtle can pick up fouls pretty easily. He kind of picks up some really dumb fouls. I feel like I've been playing him a lot in the last couple weeks, and just some boneheaded fouls against him. And Duren's just going to have a huge athletic advantage over him. Um, yeah, even like he's definitely in play anytime he's playing full minutes because he is a good per minute guy, and even in tougher matchups he can get there. But I just don't see it. I think that Diabate is much better at $100 more, better, way better matchup, probably similar minute ceiling, I would say. So that's the stand that I'd be taking there. I think Shed will be involved tonight with IQ out. He's shown upside, large part due to the assist, but I think he might need to add more offense here with those other guys running into tougher matchups. And there might be more funneling to him just with the way that the like Scotty Barnes can picking up a lot of attention. One of Ingram or Barrett will get Asar Thompson and then Jalen Duren on Pirtle, so that will kind of leave Shed against a guy like probably Duncan Robinson or somebody else. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm okay with him. I think that there's a little bit more upside than the projection and ownership is showing on Shed. Two guys that I like here at low ownership, or I guess Walter's not really coming at that low of ownership, but I think that Sandro is a guy that could do well here. He's still shown a pretty good role off the bench with CMB and Pirtle healthy, but he does provide pretty good floor spacing that you'll need against a guy like Duren. Um, and then for Walter, he's seen the minutes jump up in a really big way over the last 6 games, gone from 18.8 minutes per game to 25.7, and over those games, shooting 64% from three, 80% true shooting overall. This is like he's the exact type of value play that I think could really pop off in a big way here. You need that off ball scoring against Detroit. For the Pistons side of things, I think Duren is in a great spot here. Love attacking Jakob Poeltl. He's done good against him in the head-to-head matchups. Went for 20 and 11 on 8 of 11 shooting against the Raptors earlier this month, but I would expect a bigger night from him here. I think Danis is definitely in play too at 6.9K. I like the matchup with the Raptors giving up a good amount of on-ball scoring. And then Asar and Tobias are interesting because Tobias is going to get more ownership because he does have a better floor. I think that he's like a fine cash game play if you're playing that tonight, but the ownership will definitely be there. And Asar is going to be really low owned. I think that he's interesting because this could be a spot where the minutes really jump up in a big way. We've seen him capable of getting up to like mid 30s, and at no ownership, I think that he's interesting just for the fact that he does have a wider range of outcomes, and one of those ranges is a tournament winning ceiling. So I like Asar a good bit here, and I think that kind of covers it for Detroit.
All right. I mean, I'm all ears in terms of kind of low owned plays on this slate since we are going to have a lot of chalk. So Thompson, De Silva are two that stand out right now. Jenkins, 6.9K. Feels like it definitely feels like a big boy price for him, but you almost want to like overpay to get it somewhat contrarian on a slate when there isn't spends, when salary's not that tight. I think Duran's really strong, like you said, not going to sneak past anyone. I think Duran, Gafford teams are going to be pretty popular, but yeah, he looks really strong with a lot of upside. Never too much of a Tobias guy. No Duncan. Can Duncan or Herter? Can they make 6 threes in this spot?
I guess
You're comparing them to Dallas value, like pretty much the similar pricing, which makes it a lot harder. But if they do make 6 threes, they'll have a flame next to their name.
Yeah, Herter's playing better right now, so I think that he is in play, but I think you probably need one or both of Sasser and Levert out.
Okay, good call there. And yeah, Scotty's probably even higher than the 25%. So that's one thing, one way you can get a little different. I definitely like LaMelo at ownership, even if he is higher owned compared to Scotty. And I like your shed call as well. You definitely want the Duncan Robinson or the odd man out matchup when you are playing Detroit. So great points there, as always. 2 games left on the slate before we do go to the next. Just want to say, appreciate all 185 of you watching live. If you're watching on playback, appreciate you as well. All we ask, like button and subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. Also, if you do want to join us over at The Nation, so many sports going on right now. NBA, PGA, MLB, MMA, NASCAR, and NHL. That's a whole lot of prize pools on the DraftKings app, FanDuel. We have you covered on both sites, projections, ownership, slate plans, the stone. All you got to do, bottom left, join The Nation if you do want to give us a try. Can get in as low as $19. You get 5 days. And again, I do think it's a good time to do it because it'll take you into MMA Saturday and PGA Locks Thursday, huge prizes, MLB, of course, NBA, NHL. So a lot of daily sports, PGA, which is massive, MMA, 13 fights this week, another solid one. $19 can do a lot worse than that. You get SaberSim, you get the Discord. Big time stuff. We'd love to have you. Definitely do get in the Discord if you do join. A huge piece of our product over here. If you do just want single sport, we have you covered there. NBA, you can see we'll have you covered throughout the playoffs with slate plans. Showdown stuff gets even better. The prizes get bigger. Rotations matter even more. Watching basketball, watching the games mean even more than the regular season. Little Neck does a phenomenal job. Showdown, slate plan, you can find all of that right there. If you know you'll be with us for a while, it's core package. You can see for SaberSim, you can build 150 teams. The starter, probably a little better deal since you do get portfolio diversification. You can build 500 teams, so a lot more. And then you also do get 2 big things. Contest flashback. It allows you to go back into contests from the nights prior in MLB and NBA, whatever sports, to see what the pros are doing, who they had exposure to, how they built their lineups, which was very big. And then you also get SaberSim's projections and ownership for all the different sports as well. As you can see right here, I'd taken the average. You do have this ability with the starter pack, the average of our Ship It Nation and SaberSim projections. I'm doing that for ownership as well. So we would love to have you, multiple different options to get in. But if you haven't given us a try, I do think the 5 days for $19, probably the best deal. Next game on the slate, this one should be pretty good. I know Wardo's in chat, excited for this one. Wardo's New York Knicks, 1.5-point favorites over the Houston Rockets. 217.5 total, the lowest on the slate. On the Knicks side, no Landry Shamet, Miles Deuce McBride, questionable. No new injuries to talk about on the Houston side. Talking about Azure Thompson's brother, Amin Thompson, looking to be the chalkiest in this game. Talk about another guy I do not like clicking very much. I think Sengun is an interesting center pivot on the slate when Duran's getting a bunch of ownership at center. It's going to be Gafford, Duran, and then if people aren't playing those two, they're probably just going to play a guard at util. So he's going to be, I don't even know if he's going to be 10%. You do have spend/mid-tier options in this game, though, that aren't showing too much ownership to go along with Mav stuff. So, yeah, I'm interested. I'm curious to hear your take on it.
I didn't really have a ton of interest in Sengun, but I think that the points you made are valid just because he will be really low owned. I guess the reason being the Knicks have done a really good job limiting opposing centers have success against them. I think large part due to Mitchell Robinson being a really good defender. But I do think that the Knicks match up pretty well here against Houston. The Knicks defense has been pretty up and down all season, and over the last 2 weeks, they've dropped to 15th, and the Rockets ranked 12th over that same stretch of games. I don't necessarily think that one team's defense is better than the other. They kind of have similar areas that they can get beat, but I do think that the Knicks are much, much better on offense. And I think they match up really well here. For the Knicks on defense, they do give up a good amount of three-pointers, but luckily the Rockets are one of the worst three-point offenses in the NBA, so I don't think they have to worry too much there. Do think a couple guys match up pretty well, but I'll get there in a second. The Knicks do give up some pick and roll volume. Rockets don't really have that great of a pick and roll threat offensively, so I give the Knicks a pretty big edge on the matchups there. And the Houston is a team that does give up pick and roll as well, and they have to go up one against one of the best in Jalen Brunson. I was just looking at the clutch stats as well because the Rockets have been one of the worst teams in the clutch because teams can just throw doubles at Kevin Durant and their secondary options are not very good. So if the game does get down to the clutch, I do think that the Knicks will win. They're top 4 in defensive rating in the clutch and top 4 in offense. The Rockets are way down there. They're 21st in offense and 25th on defense. So I mean, the game is projected to stay close. I think that if it is down the stretch, we'll see the Knicks pull away. Another team that I'll be betting getting some action down. I think that the Knicks are in a good spot here. I don't really think that Cat or Brunson are must plays on the slate. The only thing is that the slate is smaller, so they could put up a score that might be enough, like a 50 from Brunson or like a 50 from Cat would probably go a long way because he does have the power forward eligibility. I do like the matchup a little bit better for Brunson, but I do kind of struggle to see him hitting in a way that you had to have even on a smaller slate. For Cat, he does have that upside. He's been playing pretty well lately. Got the power forward eligibility, which it makes it easier to click on because you can get to 2 centers and still play Cat. And we've seen the Rockets give us some pretty big games to opposing centers lately. Mostly Bam and Gobert had 2 pretty good games against them. So I do think that Cat makes some sense here. And then the trio of Hart, OG, and Bridges are in play for different reasons. For Hart, he's doing pretty much a little bit of everything to always make him in consideration. Still shooting the ball really well, and he'll get some open looks. OG is going to be playing a ton in close games, going to be needed for defense against Kevin Durant. And then the minutes have bounced back for Mikal, so he's in play just from a minute standpoint. He should definitely be out there. And I think that this could be a spot where we do see a little bit more overlap between Mitchell Robinson and Karl-Anthony Towns because you'll need size against the Rockets. That's probably where I'm cutting things off for the Knicks, though. On the Houston side of things, I don't really like the matchup for Sengun, but I think all the points you made could definitely bring him into consideration. I think that KD is probably in a little bit of a better spot. He's done pretty well against OG in the past. The data is a little bit limited over the last couple seasons, but he's averaging 33 points per 75. So I do prefer KD over Sengun here. And then I think Amen is pretty good. The Knicks will definitely be leaving him open, and it's either going to be Brunson or Josh Hart on him. I think both those are pretty exploitable matchups for Amen. He shot really well against both those guys, so I think that he's a pretty sneaky option. I feel like they'll probably put Hart on him and probably put Brunson on Reed Shepherd. I think that makes Shepherd an interesting option, but I think that this could be a spot where he really gets hunted on defense against Jalen Brunson. He's just such a big liability that I think that this is not a great spot for him, which brings Tari Eason into play. If we're looking at some like lower owned value plays, I think Tari Eason is one of the better ones because the minutes can go a little bit more in his direction here if Reed is getting hunted and not doing much on offense. And he found his shot a little bit after going ice cold earlier this month. So I think Tari Eason, if he's going to be at low ownership, is a guy I'd want to get over the field on. And then Jabari playing a ton of minutes right now, much more involved on offense, averaging 19 points and 10.7 rebounds over his last 3 games. I think that he's got to be in play with the power forward center eligibility.
I love your Tari Eason call. I mean, Brunson and the Knicks are so good at trying to find that matchup to exploit. So I'd be surprised if Reed is able to stay on the court for his normal minutes all game. I think Tari Eason, them going bigger, 4.4K in the range of some of these Dallas guys. And I always like playing Tari Eason. Hasn't necessarily worked out this year as much, but when he has had a stable role, at least the minutes have been there. Guard forward eligibility, and he can get points in bunches. So I really, really like that call. Yeah, the Sengun, it's more just the game theory stuff when you know you're playing a bunch of Dallas chalk and all of that. Duran, he's a direct pivot. as a spend up at center who's shown a lot of upside. But maybe go to Discord and hit up Matt Bellman because he was the Sengun Whisperer 2 weeks ago or whenever that was when he went off. For the Knicks side, so yeah, Cat's minutes have been kind of concerning and Mitch Robs have been up, but you think they share the court more together, which makes sense. Do you think that 30-minute mark is kind of light for Towns in this game?
Yeah, I feel like in a close game, if he's doing well, probably get into like 32 to 34.
He played 34 last game, but prior to that, it really has just been 30, almost was his top since until the beginning of March, which it's not what I'm used to seeing when we look at Cat, but Houston's big competitive game. It's getting to this time of year. It feels like 30. It feels like he can play more than 30 minutes in this spot. OG, OG just keeps getting the job done too. Playing a bunch of minutes. OG would be my favorite of the three if having to choose Hart and McHale. I need Mitch Rob love. Center's loaded. It's kind of tough to get there, but if they are playing double center and his minutes get pushed a little bit, like more than 18, which I do expect, he could be sneaky.
Yeah, I just don't know if he's going to be able to do enough to really impact the slate when we have a plethora of pretty solid center options. Like he'd have to outscore Gafford by a pretty well. Like he'd probably just have to like straight up outscore Gafford, and then he'd have to outscore like Duran and like Diabate and some of these other guys from a per minute standpoint. And I just don't know I guess from a per dollar standpoint, I don't know if he's going to do it in an impactful way.
Last thing, Wardo keeps beating the drum for Jordan Clarkson. If Deuce misses,
I think Deuce is probably going to miss, but I guess it's a little bit positive that he's only questionable. It sounds like because that was the same injury that he just got surgery on. Yeah, I mean, if Wardo gives Clarkson the green light, then I would roll with it.
There you go. All right, last game of the night. Dallas Mavericks and the Milwaukee Bucks. 1.5-point favorites of the Mavs. 230.5 total, the biggest on the slate. For the Bucks, no Bobby Portis. Gary Harris questionable. Nothing to note. No KPJ, no Giannis. So that's the big stuff like they have been without. Dallas side, though, why these guys are getting a bunch of ownership. Bagley's out. Caleb Martin's out. Clay is doubtful. Najee Marshall and PJ Washington all out. Yeah, this will lead to a whole lot of ownership. Chris Middleton, a little revenge game coming back to Milwaukee. Only 3.4K. Let's see what his high stakes ownership is. 93 or 92%. Brandon Williams, 93%. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was like 97 or something like that. Feels like a spot, in my opinion. You just play it and figure out the rest. Nembhard, what was the reason that he didn't start the second half? Was he just was he really bad? I played him. I wasn't following, and he got there in garbage time. But I was curious of your take there because Brandon Williams and Nembhard, both point guard, both getting a good amount of ownership. Gafford going to get a lot of ownership with them pretty thin in the front court. And Cooper Flag, if he really is only 14%, like he feels like one of the better spends on the slate, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you there. As far as the Nembhard stuff goes, it probably was just performance related. Brandon Williams had a really good game in that first half. So I think they're just gonna kind of rolling with the hot hand there. Don't really know if that's gonna be sticky, if that's gonna be if they're gonna go back to Nembhard or if they're gonna go with Brandon Williams in the starting lineup, but I feel like that would make Brandon Williams like a really tough to get away from. I feel like these Dallas guys are just really tough to get away from. Both these teams are really, really bad defensively. Comes with a tight spread and the highest over-under on the slate. But the thing that's kind of concerning to me in this one is that Dallas can't really afford to win many more games. If you're looking at the tanking standings, just pull it up really quick before diving into it. So Dallas, New Orleans, and Memphis are all in like that 24 to 25 win range. And I feel like you probably want to stay at the sixth spot if you're Dallas. Milwaukee's pretty locked into where they're at. Them and Chicago are like the 9-10 seed, pretty much guaranteed. So they're probably a little bit more capable of winning this game. This is the one I have the least confidence in as like a betting spot, but I do think that the Bucks are a pretty decent bet. Just straight up on the money line, I think that they can win this game. I feel like Dallas, it could be a spot where Dallas just kind of like throws it late. They haven't really been actively tanking. They're just really bad. But I feel like this could be a spot where they do that because we only have like 5 to 6 games left and the race is really kind of heating up between those bottom 3 teams. But with all that being said, the Dallas stuff is going to be really tough to get away from. I agree with you on Cooper Flag. I'm going to be going right back to him. Awesome matchup versus Dallas. He was bad in the loss last night versus Minnesota, but I would take it with a grain of salt because that's still a really good defense. I mean, we look at what Ayo Dosunmu just did against this team. I think that there's a chance that we get Cooper Flag his first triple double of his career. Just a really good spot for him. So I'm really in on Cooper Flag as a spend up option tonight. I have no issues with Gafford as well. He's been playing really great this month, actually shooting 73.6%, averaging 16 points, 9.7 rebounds per game, 33.4 DK points per game. Got to be one of the best value plays at the center position tonight. And then Brandon Williams picked up a really big role off the bench last night. I think that he's probably the most negatively impacted from a big Cooper Flag game. Um, I think I'm fine with him as a value play, but I don't think that he's like a must-have. I think there is an outcome where he is good and not great, and maybe is not needed as much on the slate. I would probably say it would probably be a max two of like Flag, Williams, and Nemhard. I wanted to look at the rotation real quick before confirming that, but if Williams and Nemhard aren't really sharing the court together all that much, then you could just say a max one there. Yeah, I mean that okay, it's probably a max one of Brandon Williams and Nemhard then because they didn't overlap basically at all last game. So I think I would probably go there and then just be able to play Flag with whoever. But I do think that there is a range where Williams just doesn't do enough. And then Chris Middleton got to be the best value play in the entire slate. Revenge game going back home to Milwaukee. He sat the final 9 minutes of the game, but was trending for around 26. That's kind of where I'd put him at tonight, assuming that he's starting again. And then Max Christie at no ownership has to be a guy that you're considering because it is a really good matchup for him. The Bucks are bottom two in defense over the last month. They are dead last in 3-point defense. He's not really doing as great. Like there was that random quote in the middle of the season where they said they wanted him to take 10 plus threes a night. Hasn't really transpired much here, so not confident in it. But this is hypothetically a spot where he should have success in. Um, I think that probably is it. Like maybe if you wanted to get some lower owned guys like AJ Johnson is in consideration, Tyler Smith, and this John Polukaitis guy. As for the Bucks stuff, it's gonna be hard for me to not have interest in Ryan Rollins. He's gonna have a really big role in his hands, and we just saw what Ayo Dosunmu just did to this team last night. Um, and they've kind of done that against the Mavericks all season long. They've had issues with their on-ball defense. No Giannis, no KPJ, no Bobby Portis for the Bucks, so he's gonna be the focal point on offense here. I think that he's got really, really solid upside. Definitely double-double upside. The assist numbers are really high for him with all those guys off the court, and he'll have a strong usage role. So cool with him. Usman Jang, a guy that should be in consideration at 6K, but he hasn't shown great permanent upside with the Bucks this season. The minutes will definitely be there. Should be a bigger role coming his way, but if he's gonna, what's the ownership looking like on him? Because I think he might be a little bit overowned.
15% is what Saber Simon taking our average right now shows. To be honest, I think that's probably light. I think he's higher with the guard forward eligibility.
Yeah, if that's the case, I mean, Asar Thompson's right there. I feel like that's a good pivot. Like, there's definitely ways to get away from him. He's not like a 6K is a big price tag for him to pay off. I think Miles Turner is a good play though. 5.6K, good price tag for him. The minutes have still been there. He's a decent permanent producer. Matchup's fine. Although I do prefer rim scoring centers against Gafford. It's not really Turner's game, but you should still have a good opportunity to put up some points here as probably the number two option on offense now. And then we saw Torian Prince and Gary Trent Jr. have big games over the weekend. I think these guys will play enough to be in play tonight, and they're not going to be owned at all. If the Bucks play this game straight up and they just run a really tight rotation, those guys are playing 35 plus minutes again here, then they're probably underowned. So definitely want to keep an eye on those guys for sure, because I think that we could get something useful from those secondary Bucks.
I mean, yeah, you just say in 35 minutes, even if you're off by like 4 minutes, Gary Trent project for 27, Prince 22. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely appealing to me. I really like Ryan Rollins in this spot, like you said. I mean, look who he's playing around. Like, they just don't really have ball handlers. The ball's going to be in his hand. A ton of competitive game. I think he is 9,100 is crazy to see that price tag for Ryan Rollins, but I like Ryan Rollins for sure. I don't think you've ever touted, maybe like a count on one hand, how many times you touted Miles Turner this year. So if you're on him, that is definitely a reason to play him a little bit. Again, a lot of people will be going Gafford and Duran at center, so he's pretty contrarian there. you have a lean on Turner or Diabate if you had to choose one in a single entry?
I would still lean Diabate, but I would put Turner ahead of Wendell Carter Jr. and I think like Oso Iguodala was getting a little bit of ownership. Yeah, I put him ahead of those guys. I'd probably more of like a coin toss between him and Jakob Poeltl. Um, but yeah, Gafford is probably first. Is definitely first.
This game seems like if I had to get the most, I mean, obviously the Dallas side is appealing. You're going to play multiple on that spot, but I think the Bucks at ownership and at their prices is really strong. You like Trent Prince, if you Turner, Rollins, Gary Trent, Chris Middleton, one of Brandon Williams, Nembhard, Gafford, and then you have all the money to spend on LaMelo or whatever the other stuff you want. I think that, and it also allows you to backload a little more for like if Brandon Ingram were to miss, or we get weird starting lineups, like who necessarily knows what Dallas is going to do. So it definitely feels more appealing. The later games, in my opinion, that Houston Knicks game I like too more than the first couple that we talked about. How have you worried about Nembhard at this ownership? If he comes off the bench, would you be a little concerned or not really?
Yeah, probably.
Because I mean, he didn't start the second half. Like I think it's very possible that he doesn't start in this spot, and he's going to have like a lot of teams will already preload Ryan Nembhard with their teams before lock, so there would be adjusting and some pivots you'd have to make. So yeah, maybe that's a spot you can get a little under on. Because if Brandon Williams starts, I don't know how you get away from that. Middleton would that like you mentioned the Cooper Flagg stuff. Is he better with Nembhard starting? Do you look at it as like a decent doc if Brandon Williams starts, or not really because it's Cooper Flagg's team and he's going to do what he wants?
I think it kind of offsets a little bit because Brandon Williams is not like your prototypical point guard. Like he's more of like a scoring guard. So if anything, that increases like the handling role for Cooper Flagg. So then maybe the scoring comes down a little bit, but the assists should go up. And then
That
it's
makes
kind of vice versa if Nemhard's out there because he's like your prototypical pass first point guard. So Flagg will be scoring more.
That makes a lot of sense. I got really nothing too much. I mean, phenomenal info like always. The 5-game slate. It feels pretty straight up in the sense if you're getting to Dallas for value, no one's above 10K on this slate, so you're picking your couple favorite spends, and then we had some mid-tier options, some contrarian ones throughout. Your Thompson, De Silva, the Trent, the Princes of the world, and yeah, really no Q tags on the slate, or not many, which is very rare for March 31st NBA. Any final thoughts, Rio, before we get on out of here?
No, I don't think so. We appreciate everybody tuning in, and good luck tonight.
Absolutely. Again, G Rise and I will be going live talking some MLB in just over 10 minutes. Again, if you do want to join us, so many sports going on. Up top right now, you can get in, join the nation, bottom left. Get in as low as $19 for 5 days. That'll get you access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sports going on. Discord, SaberSim allows you to build 150 teams. And yeah, I mean, it's SaberSim, one of the best in the business. Our Discord, the best in the business. $19, 5 days. You cannot go wrong with that. So we'd love to have you if you want single sport packages or all access. You can definitely check those out as well. Hope to see many of you familiar faces in the MLB chat in 10 minutes. Rio, you enjoy the MLB game tonight, the Dodgers. Hope to see your name at the top of the leaderboards, maybe stacking your own Dodgers right there. Not your own, but today you're the Dodgers. And that's nice of you if you do get the Yamamoto bobblehead. If you're a Dodgers fan, I don't know if Rio's how he's gonna do it, but maybe hit him up in Discord or something. And if enough people hit him up, he can randomize or do whatever you want with that. But awesome stuff, Rio. Great knowledge as always. Have fun at the game tonight. Good luck, everybody out there. You enjoy your night. For Rio, I'm Title Tom. Be safe. Peace.